Shalom! This is Rabbi Yehuda ben Shomer, also known as Chief Odun Biara an Igbo Nwani di Uto. I would like to address some Igbo issues, specifically targeted to my Torah-obedient followers of Yeshua HaMashiach who are Igbo. Many Igbos are starting to discover their Hebraic roots, how they are connected to Israel, specifically to the tribe of Gad, through Gad's sons Eri, Areli, and Arodi. Now, as many of these Igbos are coming in to this Torah-obedient faith, walking in the footsteps of Yeshua our Messiah, are walking and following the Torah, there is a tendency to want to gravitate to more Jewish traditions, especially those that are outlined in the Western culture, specifically Orthodox Judaism. And I would like to greatly discourage any Igbo from adopting any Western Jewish dress. You're saying, well, Rabbi, what about Jewish halakha? What about the ruling of the rabbis and sages, etc.? Look, don't dress like a modern Orthodox Jew. Don't wear the black fedoras, the white shirts, and the long black coats. Why? Because they weren't worn in biblical times. Why? Because that traditional dress of Orthodox Judaism is only as old as the 18th century. It was developed in Poland, around the Europe area, and it's specifically mostly the dress of Ashkenazic Jews, which now the even Sephardic Jews have adopted, and it's totally Western. The reason I want to discourage you is because within the Igbo culture, if you go back far enough before the missionaries came, before the Westerners came to Igbo land, your clothing, your traditions are more ancient, more authentic, and more modest even in some regards to the modern Orthodox dress. Now, if you want to wear a modern stylized kippah, as I do or other Jews do, that's fine. But realize that the red chieftain caps and the Igbo striped stocking caps serve the exact same purpose as a yarmulke or a kippah. Please understand this. And the Igbo stocking cap is uncannily very much like the Breslov stocking cap that Rebbe Nachman wore. Not only that, but if you go back far enough into the Igbo dress and culture, the Igbos wore a talit, like a prayer shawl, around their shoulders. It had the fringes. The only thing it didn't have was the tzitzit itself. The tzitzit were missing. When they wrapped themselves in the big wraps, they were white sheets with black stripes, looking very much like a talit gadol, like a large talit. So a lot of these, the ways of dressing are more ancient, more authentic, and more Hebraic than the modern Orthodox Jews and what they wear and what the Western Jews wear. There's no need to adopt the Western style of culture. You go back to your culture. See, it's up to the Igbos and the leaders of the Jewish Igbos, the Igbo Hebrews, if you will. It's up to the leaders to start forging ahead and developing halakha and coming back to the Hebraic roots of the faith. Is not about changing Igbo culture. It's about restoring Igbo culture, bringing Igbo culture a restoration, not changing it and morphing it into something else. Chukwu Abiyama, the God of Abraham, has called you to be Igbo Hebrews. He called you to be that tribe of Gad. He didn't call you to be Ashkenazic. He didn't call you to be Sephardic. He didn't call you to be Karaite. He didn't call you to be whatever else. He wants you to be Hebrews on your own terms, and to develop your own halakha. As I said, I can't stress enough, it's not about converting or evangelizing or changing the Igbo culture. It's about restoring the Igbo culture. I remember when I was in Igbo land in August of 2010, the Igbo cantor came up to me and said, "Rabbi, please teach me to chant Hebrew like you do." I said, "No." He said, "Rabbi," I could see he was hurt. He says, "Rabbi, but why?" I said, "You already know Hebrew. You don't need me to teach you how to chant it. I would ruin it. I would butcher it for you. I've heard you chant the Hebrew, and I've heard the African accent and the African flair and the Igbo flavor that you have placed upon the Hebrew. I want to keep it that way. I want to leave it that way because you need to make Hebrew and the Hebrew canting of the prayers and the Torah your own. You need to make it authentically and genuinely Igbo. You don't need to make it Western. You don't need to do it like the Orthodox do. The Orthodox are not the authoritative voice on halakha and Judaism. As I said before, your traditional ways, if you go back far enough before the Westerners came, the way you dressed, etc., is more Hebraic and more authentic than the modern Orthodox Jews of today. So I wanted to encourage my Igbo viewers in this regards to work on restoring, not changing, not morphing, not perverting, but restoring the Igbo culture and getting back to the Hebraic roots of that Igbo culture. Thanks so much for watching. Shalom and Shavua Tov. Bye-bye.